Hello, my name is Ashley Allen, and I am in Dr. Barr's English capstone class. And for my senior English capstone, I have decided to research the idea of Hollywood and contemporary racial identity. My thesis for my senior capstone is as follows. African Americans, though producing many successful actors and actresses in America today, are still being limited to their race and background and are not being recognized for the potential originality that they could bring to the big screen. In order to get a good comparison and basis for old Hollywood versus new Hollywood to see where we are today and if there was any growth developed, we'll be taking a look first at old Hollywood standards, dealing with Hedda Hopper, who is an American gossip columnist and actress. At the height of her influence in the 1940s, she was reaching 35 million readers across the nation. She played a very interesting role in the diversity of Hollywood because in her papers, she would seem to be an advocate for Black men and women on the big screen and for having a more equal playing field when it came to the larger Hollywood production. However, it would soon become apparent that everything she was writing, or some of the things she was writing, was not a true representation of what she actually believed. For instance, in an interview with Jackie Robinson, who was the first African-American Major League Baseball player, Jackie had arrived to Hedda's house early for an interview. Before he was able to make himself known, Jackie overheard Hedda speaking to her housekeeper, and she said, quote, "Maud, if you see a blank around the house, don't be scared. It's only Jackie Robinson." After this interview with Jackie Robinson, it became clear to many that Hedda would only be a supporter of the racially stereotypical roles for Black men and women in Hollywood. For example, Hopper strongly endorsed the films of Louise Beaver, who you see in the top right corner, because she felt women like Beaver, quote, knew their place and whose antics served to amuse and comfort culturally sanctioned notions of whiteness. In other words, as long as a Black actor or actress was cast for the role of servant or maid or driver, it was perfectly fine to be seen on the white screens across America because that was their role. That was what they were supposed to be seen doing. That was their place. And keeping this in mind, how many of these thoughts and beliefs have changed over the past few years? Well, we can answer that question with one PowerPoint slide because on your screen, you are looking at every Academy Award ever given for best supporting actor or actress in the entire history of the Oscars. To better put it into perspective, the Oscars have awarded over 350 acting trophies since 1929. For 92 years, 19 of those awards have gone to African Americans. Listed here are 14 names because the names like Denzel Washington, Halle Berry, and Jamie Foxx have actually won multiple Oscars. And so when it comes down to individual African Americans, only 14 awards have been given to African American individuals, and overall 19 awards were given out. So I also have listed the type of award, and when looking at the Best Actor award, what was the subject of that movie? Even this for the Supporting Actor award, what was the subject of that movie or the role of that character that they were playing? If it's not about slavery, is there poverty, gangs, hardship, or violence in the movie? Now we take a look at some of the movies that have won Oscars over the past 10 years. Are we seeing a pattern? Because these movies in the past 10 years, Black KK Klansman, The Help, Django, Selma, Fruitville Station, and Hidden Figures all have either the exact same storyline or set in the past or based on a true story. They all have similarities. So why are these great recognized films still being made over and over with the same roles and concepts? Either slavery or the hardships of living in poverty and working your way out. The stories of Black excellence are being suppressed and overcome by the white men in Hollywood because they are only being casted for these roles. They are not being able to, or they're not given the chance to show their true diversity in the art world, in the film world, in Hollywood in particular. they are being just continued to suppress them into the past of African Americans in the world or in America. And to best describe this was actually Nancy Ewan, who is an author of Real Inequality. And she states that Hollywood suffers greatly from colorblind racism. And she describes it as being, quote, "It is one of the most powerful and flagrant, even if unconscious, perpetrators of racism through exclusionary and stereotyped storytelling and casting practices." The inclusion that many Hollywood directors try to be proud of is actually only a continuation of the Black stereotyping and oppression, and is giving them praise for being able to maintain this white dominance and the control of Hollywood. And so they're not being able to reach as many people and reach as many screens, because some of these movies and some of these films, a great deal of people in America don't want to watch. They're not interested in Martin Luther King, or they're not interested in old movies of the past. They want something new and they want something exciting. And unfortunately, the Black actors and actresses are not getting that screen time because they're not fit for the more modern role. However, we are looking at a great era of streaming and streaming services, and it's something that is called the Great Migration of the New Negro. And the president of HBO's programming, Michael Lombardo, describes the problem and the rise of streaming services as saying, quote, "People say, I want the most experienced, and then the minute you say that, you're cut out by and large women, people of color, and you're left with the white dudes," end quote. Following this comment, Viola Davis stated in an interview, quote, "The only thing that separates women of color from anyone else is opportunity, and you cannot win an award for roles you were not a part of," end quote. Friedman also points out that not every Black man or woman has had to achieve greatness by fighting a bad childhood or out of poverty, but it's more likely for people in the Black community to experience those issues. Yes, that's a whole nother topic. But the way that Hollywood continues to harsh and comply to these stereotypes that society has created, specifically white society has created, is not only creating a lack of diversity, but is also creating a lack of heroes and people to look up to in young African American children. So we take a look at the blockbuster film, The Black Panther. It is a predominantly Black cast and has had more originality and inclusions of races than any other predominantly Black film that there is. There were none of your stereotypical Black situations, and it was a beautiful, strong kingdom of power, pride, and strength. But if you take into consideration Black Panther versus 12 Years a Slave, what do you think a little Black boy or a little Black girl wants to aspire to be when they grow up? Obviously, these films were created for two totally different opinions and viewers, but what other movie is there to compare it to when it comes to success of films? Because Black Panther did extremely well in films, and so did 12 Years a Slave. There's no other true Black hero that has been created, at least within the past 10 years, that has reached as many people and touched as many hearts as Chadwick Boseman did in the Black Panther. Some people find it strange that there are not more movies like the Black Panther because it was a successful movie. However, journalists Marlo Barnett and Joseph Flynn describe it perfectly, saying it makes the whites uncomfortable, because when we are watching something on our screens that are out of society's standards and out of the stereotypes that we have placed, it kind of takes us back, and we're shocked. And going back to the previous slide of Bridgerton, I'm sure many of you have seen this show, and the fact that it was a Black duke and a Black queen and they never once mentioned race was mind-blowing for millions. And people were going off saying, oh, it's not, historically accurate, and it's not this, and it's not that. It is Netflix's #1 streamed show ever, reaching 82 million viewers. It doesn't have to be historically accurate. It doesn't have to be what we expect it to be as a society. It's original, it's new. And so in an article titled Disrupting Stereotypes and Portrayals of African Americans in the Media, they state, quote, "White people expect Black people, even if unconsciously, to act or behave a certain way in films and shows, and we expect them to be the villain because that is how we have set them up in society." And one of the last points that I would like to bring to light is the idea of success in Hollywood for the people of color that have done very, very well and that we know the names of and faces of. But I also want to take a look at how they display white characteristics. Particularly Black actresses are often shown with, quote, by Raquel Gates, a professional or white hairstyle in order to make them appear cleaner. An article titled Pioneers of African American Cinema and Contemporary Relevance, he talks about how most famous Black actresses, which we see here in a Google search that I did, I just typed in famous Black actress, and if you see on your screen, we have lighter skin, still beautiful, very successful Black women. We have relaxed hair. We have wider hairstyles of hairstyles we know that usually for Black women are not natural. And then we also have the beautiful Viola Davis down here with a more natural hairstyle. But then I kind of think back as to what film do I know her from? And I know her from the film The Help. And so it kind of still draws back that idea of that she was a house servant. And so then we're going to compare it to my Google search that I did of beautiful Black women. Automatically, there is a very strong difference. We have darker skinned, beautiful Black women again with natural hair, with even in the top right, we have a tribal lady with a beautiful tribal necklace, and darker skin with the beautiful natural hair, and looks like tribal jewelry possible in the third picture over. And so even this simple Google search can show just the difference of the success in Hollywood and the white characteristics that they deem beautiful, or that they deem acceptable in society and in Hollywood culture. And if this Google search is not enough evidence to convince you that this is a true issue, let's take a look at a situation between the beautiful actress and singer Zendaya and E! News anchor Juliana Rancic in 2015. Juliana was interviewing Zendaya for a red carpet event, and Zendaya, who is a beautiful light-skinned Black lady, had her hair changed to where she had fake dreads, and changed nothing else about her appearance, nothing else about her makeup or style, or a beautiful dress. She was still on the red carpet event. She looked amazing. And Juliana Rancic made this comment that Zendaya overheard and said, quote, "They make her look like she smells like patchouli oil or weed," end quote. And this is just, again, to go to show how stereotypes play such a big role and issue in Hollywood and culture still today, that we have not changed much from Hedda Hopper's comment of, yeah, I'm going to interview her, or I'm going to interview Jackie Robinson, and I'm going to, get the followers of the African American community, but I'm going to whisper over here, pretend like no one hears me, and say a racial slur. Versus, Juliana was interviewing Zendaya, talking about how beautiful she was, she loved her dress and the hair was cool or whatever, and then made the comment, "They make her look like she smells like patchouli oil or weed." And so where are we now? Kind of in conclusion of what I just said and wrapping it all up, obviously we are far from being truly diverse. The ways of inclusion of the Black community are still very toxic and harsh, with the unrealistic stereotypes set by white people for centuries. Once Hollywood can stop making excuses as to why the majority of Black actors and actresses are only casted as historical roles, or the help or thugs, etc., then we will be able to argue the idea of true equality and inclusion of the Black communities in Hollywood. But until then, we are going to be set and be able to be a part of this awesome era of streaming services and be able to see some really amazing ideas and original shows and thoughts and art created by the African American community. Here am I more excited. Thank you very much.